The smartwatch on Charlotte's wrist glowed blue in our darkened bedroom at 2:47 a.m., and I wasn't checking the time. I was reading the message that would destroy everything I thought I knew about my marriage. Tonight was incredible. Wear the red dress Thursday. Can't wait to have you again. D. My wife of 6 years lay beside me, breathing the deep, satisfied sleep of someone who'd just gotten exactly what she wanted. And apparently, what she wanted wasn't me. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Elliot Grayson, and up until that moment, I thought I was living the American dream in our renovated colonial house in Millbrook Heights, Massachusetts. The kind of place where Stephen King would set a horror story, except the monsters here wore Armani suits and drove BMW sedans to their affairs. Charlotte stirred, her auburn hair catching moonlight through our bedroom window. Beautiful, ambitious, and apparently a world-class liar. She worked in corporate PR for Damien Wolf's tech company, Nexus Dynamics. I'd met Damien at company parties, mid-40s, silver-haired, the kind of predatory charm that made middle-aged women forget they were married, including, it seemed, my wife. I slipped out of bed, my journalist instincts kicking in. 20 years of investigative reporting before I became a data analyst had taught me that one piece of evidence was just the beginning. I padded downstairs to our kitchen, the old floorboards creaking under my feet despite the expensive renovation. Our house was Charlotte's pride and joy, historic bones with modern guts, security cameras visible from every angle, everything perfectly curated for her Instagram feed. Living our best life, she'd caption photos of our dinner parties, our weekend trips, our seemingly perfect marriage. Perfect, right. I made coffee and sat at our granite island, staring at the security monitor that showed our driveway. Empty, of course. Charlotte had come home at her usual time last night, kissed me hello with lips that had probably been on another man hours earlier, and asked about my day like she actually cared. The red dress. I knew exactly which one she meant, the one that hugged every curve, the one that made her look like she could conquer the world. She'd worn it to the company Christmas party last year, and Damien had complimented it, loudly, in front of everyone, including me. My phone buzzed. Sam Hartley, owner of the Iron Oak Bar downtown and my closest friend since college, was apparently also awake at 3 a.m. "You up? Something's got me thinking about that conversation we had last week." The conversation where I'd mentioned Charlotte's late nights, her new interest in the gym, her sudden need for space in our marriage. Sam, being an ex-cop, had given me a look that said he'd seen this movie before and it didn't end well. I texted back, "Yeah, I think you were right. Want to talk?" "Not yet, still processing. Iron Oak's open when you're ready. And Elliot, don't do anything stupid." Too late for that. I was already planning something very stupid indeed. Charlotte's company gala was Thursday night, 3 days away, the red dress event. The perfect opportunity to watch my wife and her boss pretend they were just colleagues, while everyone in Millbrook Heights' tight-knit corporate community gossiped behind their champagne flutes. I went back upstairs, slipped into bed, and watched my wife sleep. In the morning, she'd wake up, kiss me goodbye, and head off to work, where she'd probably text her lover about how excited she was for Thursday night. But Thursday night wasn't going to go the way Charlotte and Damien expected. I was going to make sure of that. Tuesday morning arrived with Charlotte's usual performance. Coffee, toast, a kiss on the cheek that felt like a betrayal, and cheerful chatter about her day ahead. "Don't forget about the gala Thursday," she said, adjusting her blazer in our hallway mirror. 7 p.m. at the Grand Millbrook Hotel. You still have your tux, right? "Hanging in the closet," I replied, watching her face for any tell. Nothing. She was good at this. "Great. It's going to be a wonderful evening. Damien's been working so hard on this event." Damien. She said his name with just a little too much warmth. a little too much familiarity. I'm sure he has, I said. After she left, I did what any self-respecting former investigative journalist would do. I investigated. Charlotte's laptop was password protected, but she'd never been particularly creative. Her password was still our anniversary date. Amateur hour. Her email drafts folder was a gold mine. Messages she'd written but never sent, probably because she was smart enough to know that email trails could be subpoenaed. D. Last night in your office was risky, but so worth it. I can't stop thinking about your hands on me. Thursday can't come soon enough. C. Damien, I told Elliot I was working late again. He's so clueless, it's almost sad. Sometimes I wonder why I married him. C. D. Leah thinks we're being too obvious, but I don't care anymore. I want everyone to know you're mine. C. Leah. Charlotte's best friend and biggest enabler, apparently also her affair confidant. That stung almost as much as the cheating itself. I screenshotted everything, then covered my tracks. 20 years of journalism had taught me to document first, confront later. My phone rang. Work, probably wondering why I wasn't logged in yet. I let it go to voicemail. Instead, I drove to the Iron Oak. Sam's bar occupied the ground floor of a converted Victorian mansion downtown, the kind of place where Millbrook Heights blue-collar workers drank alongside old money types, slumming it for authenticity. Sam had bought it after retiring from the police force, and it had become the unofficial headquarters for everyone who didn't fit into the town's country club scene. I found Sam behind the bar, polishing glasses with the methodical precision of a man who'd spent 30 years paying attention to details. You look like hell, he said without looking up. Feel worse. I slid onto a bar stool. She's cheating. With the boss? How'd you know? Sam finally looked at me, his weathered face showing no surprise. Elliot, I've been watching people lie for 3 decades. Your wife's been acting like a woman with a secret for months. And that boss of hers? Guy's got predator written all over him. I found emails, draft emails she was smart enough not to send, but dumb enough to save. What are you going to do? I stared at my reflection in the mirror behind the bar. 42 years old, graying at the temples, probably 20 pounds heavier than when Charlotte married me. Not exactly competition for Damien Wolf's gym-sculpted physique. I'm going to that gala Thursday night. And I'm going to watch them pretend they're not sleeping together in front of half the town. Sam poured me a coffee. That's not a plan. That's masochism. It's the beginning of a plan. Elliot. Sam's voice carried the authority of someone who'd seen domestic situations go sideways. Whatever you're thinking, think it through. Don't let anger make you stupid. Stupid would be pretending this isn't happening. Stupid would be doing something that lands you in jail or bankruptcy court. I drank the coffee and thought about Charlotte's draft emails, the casual cruelty of calling me clueless, the way she'd wondered why she married me, like I was some consolation prize she'd settled for. I'm not going to jail, I said, but I'm not going to be anyone's fool either. Sam studied me for a long moment. You want some free advice from someone who's seen this before? Shoot. Document everything. Keep your mouth shut until you know exactly what you're dealing with. And whatever you do, don't let them know you know until you're ready to act. What if I'm ready to act Thursday night? Then God help us all. I left the Iron Oak with a clearer head and a darker purpose. Charlotte wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that her clueless husband had spent 2 decades uncovering secrets for a living, and I was very, very good at my job. Thursday evening, I stood in front of our bedroom mirror adjusting my bow tie while Charlotte put the finishing touches on her makeup. The red dress hugged her like a second skin, and she looked absolutely stunning. It made what I was about to do almost painful. Almost. You look beautiful, I said, meaning it. She smiled at me in the mirror. Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself. For a moment, I almost wavered. This was my wife of 6 years, the woman I'd planned to grow old with. But then I remembered her draft emails, the casual way she'd dismissed our marriage, and my resolve hardened. The Grand Millbrook Hotel ballroom was decorated in corporate elegance, Nexus Dynamics logo projected onto the walls, ice sculptures, waiters circulating with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. The guest list read like a who's who of Millbrook Heights professional class. I spotted Damien immediately, silver-haired, perfectly tailored tuxedo, working the room like he owned it, which, given his position as CEO, he basically did. Charlotte excused herself to freshen up almost immediately after we arrived. I watched her cross the room to where Damien stood holding court with a group of investors. "Elliot!" Leah appeared at my elbow, champagne flute in hand, smile bright as a searchlight. "You look so handsome tonight." Leah Morrison, Charlotte's best friend since college, enabler of her affair, and according to the draft emails, enthusiastic supporter of my wife's infidelity. Looking at her now, I marveled at how easily people could smile while lying to your face. "Thanks, Leah. You look great too. Charlotte's so lucky to have you. You're such a good husband." The irony was thick enough to cut with a knife. "I try to be." "Oh, you are. She tells me all the time how supportive you are of her career." "I bet she does. Charlotte's happiness is very important to me." Across the room, Damien had his hand on my wife's lower back, guiding her toward a group of potential clients. His fingers lingered just a moment too long, and Charlotte leaned into his touch with practiced ease. "They work so well together," Leah continued, following my gaze. "Damien really values Charlotte's input. I'm sure he values a lot of things about Charlotte." Leah's smile flickered for just a moment. "What do you mean?" "Just that she's very talented at many things." The evening progressed with painful predictability. Charlotte and Damien circulated together, their chemistry obvious to anyone paying attention, which, given the nature of small-town gossip, was everyone. I nursed a single scotch and watched my marriage dissolve in public while maintaining a pleasant smile. People approached me throughout the evening, colleagues, neighbors, acquaintances, all making polite conversation while their eyes tracked the real show across the room. Mrs. Pike, our elderly neighbor and the town's unofficial gossip coordinator, materialized beside me during the dinner service. "Lovely evening," she said, her sharp eyes missing nothing. "Very nice," I agreed. "Charlotte looks radiant. That dress is stunning on her. She has excellent taste. And Mr. Wolfe seems quite attentive to his employees." I looked at Mrs. Pike more carefully. Behind her grandmotherly facade was a woman who'd been watching human drama unfold for 8 decades. "Damien's very hands-on with his management style," I said. "Indeed. I've noticed that during my visits to their office building. The parking garage has such interesting views." A chill ran down my spine. Mrs. Pike had seen them together. Of course she had. The woman probably knew about the affair before I did. Interesting views? Oh yes, one sees all sorts of professional interactions, particularly in the executive parking area. She patted my arm with surprising gentleness. "You're a good man, Elliot. Too good for some people, perhaps." After dinner, the real entertainment began. Damien took the stage to give his keynote address, and Charlotte positioned herself in the front row, gazing up at him with undisguised adoration. I'd had enough. I stood up, straightened my jacket, and walked to the front of the ballroom. The crowd's attention shifted from Damien to me as I approached the stage. "Excuse me," I said, my voice carrying clearly in the sudden quiet. "Damien, could I have a word?" Damien's confident smile faltered slightly. "Elliot, I'm in the middle of my speech." "This won't take long." I climbed the steps to the stage, very aware that every phone in the room was now pointed at us. "I just wanted to publicly thank you for all the personal attention you've been giving my wife." The ballroom went dead silent. Charlotte's face had gone white. The late nights, the weekend meetings, the hands-on mentoring. I stepped closer to Damien, who was now backing away from the microphone. It's so generous of you to spend so much intimate time helping Charlotte advance her career. Elliot, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Oh, I understand perfectly. I was close enough now to see the sweat beading on Damien's forehead. You've been very clear about your intentions. Both of you have. I reached out and straightened Damien's bow tie with deliberate care, my hands steady, despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. The thing is, Damien, I don't appreciate being made a fool of in my own town. And I especially don't appreciate my wife's boss treating her like his personal plaything. Now wait just a minute. No, you wait. My voice hardened, and I gripped his lapels firmly enough to make my point without crossing into assault territory. You want to play games with other people's marriages? Fine, but you're going to do it honestly, or you're not going to do it at all. Security was moving toward the stage now, but I wasn't finished. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, turning to address the crowd while keeping one hand on Damien's jacket. I'd like you all to witness something special. Mr. Wolf here is going to apologize to me, to his wife Vanessa, who's sitting right there at table 12, and to everyone in this room for his unprofessional conduct with my wife. Damien tried to pull away, but I held firm. Elliot, you're making a scene. I'm making a point. Apologize, Damien. Right now, in front of everyone, or I start sharing some very interesting emails and text messages. The color drained from his face. You wouldn't. Try me. For a moment, we stared at each other while 300 people held their breath. Then Damien looked out at the crowd, saw his wife's horrified face, saw the phones recording everything, and made his choice. I apologize, he said quietly. Louder. I apologize. His voice cracked slightly. To everyone, for my inappropriate behavior. I released his jacket and stepped back. Thank you. That wasn't so hard, was it? Security reached the stage as I walked calmly down the steps. Charlotte was standing now, tears streaming down her face, her perfect evening in ruins. I paused beside her table. I'll be at home when you're ready to talk, I said quietly. But I won't be waiting long. Then I walked out of the ballroom, leaving behind the wreckage of my marriage and the beginning of my revenge. I was sitting in our kitchen at midnight, still wearing my tuxedo, when Charlotte finally came home. She'd removed her heels and was carrying them, her perfect hair now disheveled, makeup smeared from crying. Elliot. Her voice was small, uncertain. Charlotte. I didn't look up from my coffee cup. She sat across from me at our granite island, the same spot where I'd discovered her affair 3 days earlier. How long have you known? Long enough. I can explain. Can you? I finally looked at her, this woman I'd loved for 6 years, this stranger who'd been living in my house and lying to my face. Can you explain calling me clueless? Can you explain wondering why you married me? Can you explain fucking your boss in his office while I was home making dinner? She flinched at the crude language. Charlotte had always hated when I swore. You read my emails. Your draft emails. The ones you were smart enough not to send, but stupid enough to save. Tears started flowing again. Elliot, please. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been having an affair with Damien Wolf. Your best friend Leah knows about it and thinks it's wonderful. You've been lying to me for months, maybe longer. And tonight you were planning to parade around in front of the entire town while I stood there like an idiot. I never meant for it to go this far. How far did you mean for it to go? Just a little adultery? Just a small betrayal? Charlotte buried her face in her hands. It started as just attraction. He was charming, powerful. He made me feel special. And I didn't? You made me feel safe, comfortable, but Damien made me feel alive. The words hit like physical blows. Safe and comfortable. 6 years of marriage reduced to a security blanket she'd outgrown. So you decided to have both, the reliable husband at home and the exciting lover at work. It wasn't supposed to happen, but once it started, I couldn't stop. You mean you didn't want to stop? She looked up at me, mascara streaked down her cheeks. What happens now? Now? Now you pack a bag and get out of my house. Elliot, please, we can work through this. Marriage counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I stood up, suddenly exhausted. Charlotte, 3 days ago I would have done anything to save our marriage. But that was before I read what you really think of me. That was before I realized you've been laughing at me with your lover and your friends. I never laughed at you. Calling me clueless isn't laughing. She had no answer for that. Pack a bag, I repeated. You can come back for the rest of your things when I'm not here. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know. Maybe Damien's apartment. Maybe Leah's couch. That's not my problem anymore. She started crying harder. You're really going to throw away 6 years of marriage over this? I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that. I left her sitting in our kitchen and went upstairs to our bedroom. 20 minutes later, I heard her moving around, opening drawers, packing. An hour after that, I heard the front door close and her car start in the driveway. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat by our bedroom window and watched the sunrise over Millbrook Heights, planning my next move. Because this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Friday morning brought a parade of phone calls and text messages. News of my public confrontation with Damien had spread through town like wildfire, and everyone wanted details. Sam called first. Jesus Christ, Elliot. I said don't do anything stupid. I didn't do anything stupid. I did something necessary. You humiliated a CEO in front of 300 people. That's either brilliant or career suicide. Maybe both. My phone buzzed with another call. Mrs. Pike. Elliot, dear. I just wanted you to know that you have my complete support. That man needed to be taken down a peg. Thank you, Mrs. Pike. And if you need anything at all, you just let me know. I've been watching this town's scandals for 80 years, and I know where all the bodies are buried. Interesting choice of words. The calls continued throughout the morning. Colleagues, neighbors, even people I barely knew. The consensus seemed split between admiration for my public stand and concern for my mental state. Charlotte called around noon. Elliot, we need to talk. I thought we talked last night. Damien's furious. He's talking about suing you for assault and defamation. Let him try. I have documentation of your affair, and I never touched him inappropriately. I straightened his tie and asked for an apology. If that's assault, half the mothers in America are felons. You embarrassed him in front of his investors. Good. Elliot, please, you're being vindictive. I'm being honest. Something you should try sometime. I hung up and immediately called Sam. I need a favor. What kind of favor? The kind that involves your old contacts at the police department. Elliot, nothing illegal. I just want to know if Damien Wolfe has any skeletons in his closet. Sam was quiet for a moment. You're really going to war with this guy. He started it when he decided to sleep with my wife. Fine, but I want you to promise me something. What? Whatever you find, whatever you do with it, keep it legal. I'm not visiting you in prison. Deal. I spent the rest of Friday afternoon doing what I did best, research. Damien Wolfe might be a successful CEO, but success often came with shortcuts, and shortcuts left trails. By evening, I had a clearer picture of my enemy. Damien had built Nexus Dynamics through a series of aggressive acquisitions and questionable business practices. Nothing illegal, but plenty that wouldn't look good in the wrong light. More importantly, I'd found Vanessa Wolfe's contact information. Damien's wife deserved to know what her husband had been doing. And if my conversation with her happened to cause problems for Damien, well, that was just a happy coincidence. I poured myself a scotch and settled into my home office to compose an email. Not to Damien or Charlotte, but to the other wronged party in this mess. It was time to even the odds. Saturday morning, I met Vanessa Wolfe at a coffee shop in downtown Boston, far enough from Millbrook Heights to avoid prying eyes. She was elegant in the way that money and breeding could create, understated jewelry, perfect posture, the kind of quiet confidence that came from never having to prove anything to anyone. "Mr. Grayson," she extended a manicured hand. "Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for agreeing to meet." We found a quiet corner table, and I studied Damien's wife more carefully. Mid-40s, silver blonde hair, intelligent eyes that missed nothing. She looked like someone who'd been expecting this conversation for a while. "I should tell you," she said, stirring her coffee with deliberate precision, "that I already knew about the affair." That surprised me. "You knew?" "I've known for months. My husband isn't nearly as clever as he thinks he is." "Then why didn't you stop it?" Vanessa smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Because I was gathering evidence for the divorce proceedings, and because I wanted to see how far he'd push things." "Your husband pushed things pretty far Thursday night." "Yes, I heard about your public intervention, quite dramatic." I felt heat rise in my cheeks. I'm not proud of making a scene. "Don't apologize. Damien needed to be humiliated. He's been humiliating me for years with his affairs." "Affairs? Plural?" Vanessa's laugh was bitter. "Oh, Mr. Grayson, your wife isn't Damien's first conquest. She's just his most recent." The coffee shop suddenly felt too warm. "How many?" "That I know of? 4, including Charlotte. That I suspect? Probably twice that." I stared at her, processing this information. Charlotte wasn't special to Damien. She was just another conquest, another married woman he could manipulate and discard. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I think we can help each other." Vanessa leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I want to destroy my husband professionally and financially. You want revenge for what he did to your marriage. Those goals aren't mutually exclusive." "What are you proposing?" "I have documentation of Damien's pattern of sexual harassment, HR complaints that were buried, NDAs that were paid out, performance reviews that were clearly retaliatory. I also have financial records showing how he's been using company resources for his personal affairs." My journalist instincts kicked in. That's fraud. Among other things. The question is, what are you willing to do with this information? I thought about Charlotte's draft emails, about Leah's knowing smiles, about sitting in that ballroom watching my wife gaze adoringly at her lover. "What do you need from me?" Vanessa smiled, and this time it was genuine. "I need someone with media connections, someone who knows how to tell a story that will stick. I haven't worked as a journalist in years, but you still have contacts, and you still know how to investigate." She was right. I did still have contacts, editors who would take my calls, reporters who owed me favors. "If I do this," I said slowly, "it won't just hurt Damien. It'll hurt Charlotte too. Your wife made her choice when she decided to have an affair with my husband." I thought about that for a moment. Charlotte had made her choice, multiple choices in fact, over months of deception and betrayal. "What about Leah? Your wife's friend? What about her?" "She knew about the affair, encouraged it even." Vanessa's eyes glittered. "Then she's complicit, and complicit people face consequences." We spent the next hour planning. Vanessa had been methodical in her evidence gathering, building a case that would destroy Damien both professionally and personally. All she needed was someone to help her deploy it effectively. "There's one more thing," she said as we prepared to leave. "Damien's planning to fire Charlotte." "What?" He's decided she's too much of a liability after Thursday night. He's going to let her go Monday morning and claim it's part of a restructuring. The irony was perfect. Charlotte had risked her marriage for a man who was planning to discard her anyway. How do you know this? I still live in his house. I hear his phone calls. I felt a moment of sympathy for Charlotte, then pushed it away. She'd made her bed. Now she could lie in it. When do we move? Monday morning, right after he fires your wife. Sunday passed in a blur of phone calls and preparation. I reached out to contacts at the Boston Globe, the Herald, and 3 local business journals. I crafted press releases and prepared documentation packages. I even called a friend at Channel 5 News who specialized in corporate corruption stories. By Sunday night, everything was ready. Vanessa had provided me with a devastating portfolio of evidence: financial irregularities, HR violations, a pattern of sexual harassment spanning years. Combined with my own documentation of Damien's affair with Charlotte, it painted a picture of a CEO who'd been using his position to prey on employees and misuse company resources. Charlotte called Sunday evening. "Elliot, I need to come get some of my things." "Fine, I won't be here." "Where are you going?" "That's not your concern anymore." "Please don't be like this. We still need to talk about us." "There is no us, Charlotte. You made sure of that." "I love you." The words hung in the air between us. 3 words that might have meant everything a week ago, and meant nothing now. "No," I said quietly. "You love the idea of me. You love having someone safe to come home to while you play with someone exciting. But you don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this." She started crying again. "Elliot." "Goodbye, Charlotte." I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow, everything would change, for all of us. Monday morning arrived gray and cold, matching my mood perfectly. I sat in my car outside Nexus Dynamics headquarters, watching employees arrive for what would be a very interesting day. At 9:15 a.m., I saw Charlotte's BMW pull into the parking garage. She looked composed, professional, probably expecting another normal day at the office. At 9:30 a.m., my phone rang. Vanessa. "It's done. He just fired her." "How did she take it?" "About as well as you'd expect. Lots of tears, some begging, a little anger. He told her it was business, nothing personal." "Everything's personal with Damien." "Not anymore. Are you ready?" I looked at my phone, finger hovering over the send button that would dispatch press releases to 6 different media outlets simultaneously. "Ready." I pressed send. Within an hour, my phone was ringing constantly. Reporters, editors, producers, all wanting to know more about the story I'd just dropped on them. The story of Damien Wolf's pattern of sexual harassment, financial irregularities, and abuse of power. The story that would destroy him. By noon, news vans were parked outside Nexus Dynamics. By 2 p.m., the story was trending on social media. By 5 p.m., Damien Wolf had been suspended pending investigation by the company's board of directors. Charlotte called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. Leah called too, her voice panicked on the voicemail she left. "Elliot, what have you done? Charlotte's devastated. She lost her job, and now this scandal. People are saying she's one of the women in the harassment story. This is going to ruin her career." Good. Sam called around dinner time. "Jesus, Elliot, you really went nuclear. I told you I was done being anyone's fool. The whole town's talking about it. Mrs. Pike is holding court at the diner, telling anyone who'll listen that she saw this coming months ago." "I'm sure she is." "How do you feel?" I thought about that question. How did I feel? Vindicated? Satisfied? Empty? I feel like I finally told the truth. And Charlotte? Charlotte made her choices. Now she gets to live with the consequences. Tuesday brought the inevitable confrontation. Charlotte was waiting in our driveway when I got home from work, sitting in her car like she was afraid to approach the house. I parked and walked over to her window. She rolled it down and I could see she'd been crying for hours. Elliot, please, we need to talk. Talk. Not out here, inside. No, you don't live here anymore. Please, 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I nodded. We sat on our front porch, the same porch where we'd shared morning coffee and evening wine during happier times. You destroyed him, she said. I exposed him. There's a difference. You destroyed me too. You destroyed yourself when you decided to have an affair. Charlotte looked older than her 33 years, worn down by the events of the past few days. I made a mistake. You made a series of choices over several months. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. I know you're angry. I'm not angry anymore, Charlotte. I'm done. She stared at me, searching my face for some sign of the man who'd loved her unconditionally for 6 years. What happens now? Now you figure out how to rebuild your life without me in it. And us? There is no us. There hasn't been for months. I was just too stupid to see it. You're not stupid. No, I agreed. I'm not. Which is why this conversation is over. I stood up and walked toward my front door. Elliot. Her voice was small, broken. I really did love you. I paused with my hand on the doorknob. Maybe you did, but you loved him more, and that's something I can't forgive. I went inside and closed the door behind me, leaving Charlotte sitting alone on the porch of the house that used to be ours. 3 months later, I stood in that same kitchen where this all began, reading the final divorce decree. Charlotte had signed without contest, probably because her lawyer had advised her that fighting would only make things worse. Damian Wolfe had been fired and was facing multiple lawsuits. His marriage to Vanessa was over, and she'd taken him for everything he was worth. He'd left town quietly, his reputation destroyed, his career finished. Charlotte had moved back in with her parents and was working as a freelance consultant, her corporate career effectively over. Leah had lost her job too, caught up in the scandal when her role as enabler came to light. I'd won, completely, devastatingly, thoroughly. So why didn't I feel better about it? My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You got what you wanted. I hope it was worth it. C. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. The house felt too quiet, too empty. I poured myself a scotch and walked out to our back deck, looking out over the garden Charlotte had loved so much. Had it been worth it? I'd destroyed the people who'd betrayed me, exposed their lies, made them face consequences for their actions. I'd gotten justice. But justice, I was learning, was a cold comfort when you were eating it alone. My phone rang. Sam. Hey, you okay? I'm fine. Liar, come down to the Oak. First drink's on me. Thanks, but I think I'll stay in tonight. Elliot. Sam's voice was gentle but firm. You won. It's over. Now you need to figure out how to live with winning. I looked around at my empty house, my perfect revenge, my hollow victory. Yeah, I said. I guess I do.